Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of What Is Wrong With You. Today I've got my lovely guest here, Jameson White. Y'all have actually seen him before. He has been on exactly, 2 years ago?
2 years ago today, I got a Facebook memory for it. Yeah, crazy.
That's so crazy. Yeah, I think you were like one of my first guests when I started doing it here, if not the first.
Probably one,
Yeah.
early adopter.
Yeah. Yeah, we've, if you guys didn't listen to the past, I feel like a YouTuber when I'm like, hey guys. But if you guys haven't listened to the episode with us in the past, we've been friends since like, I don't know, it was a really long time.
Probably like, early high school.
Yeah,
very early
like
high school. Yeah.
14 years old, something like
Yeah.
that. Yeah, so then we lived in the same town and we lived together for like a short amount of time. And then, now we're here. So it's been good to catch up with you because, it's going to be good to catch up with you because I haven't seen you in so long.
Absolutely. No, thank you for the invite back on this. No, I think this is awesome. I'm really excited.
Heck yeah. Okay, so I ask everybody this. What is a complaint you have for today?
So I've been thinking about this one pretty heavily. And this is like an overarching one since I've been in Austin.
Oh, okay.
It is shitty drivers.
Oh my God.
So
that is a great one.
One thing that I think has been pretty overarching, and if you know me, you've been in a car with me, like I'm notorious for a little bit of road rage. On that note, it's like, it's funny because God will give you the worst day and then just put a shitty driver in front of you whenever you're trying to like go clear your head. And it's like, okay, like, let's just go ahead and kick you while you're down.
Right.
Every turn, every stop and go, it's brutal. But that's
really how it feels. On the way over here, I was like, it's so angry because those people who like put their signal like they're gonna get over, but it's like they've had many chances to get over and they just like keep the signal on, and it's like, what are you doing? Like, just get over. I can't.
No, it's ridiculous, and it's like, I think it's Austin culture as a whole. I don't think you're fully adopted in Austin culture unless you either see shitty drivers, you are around shitty drivers, or you are the shitty driver.
Yeah.
So shitty drivers.
Yeah,
number one complaint. Number one.
That's a very good complaint. It really is like when you're having the worst day and everything is like falling apart and crumbling, and then they're like, oh, let's just put someone who doesn't use their signal or uses it too much.
No signal, cuts you off, like honking, flashing their brights, whatever. Like it's ridiculous, but yes.
Yeah, I was in the car with my cousin the other day, and I'm just going to say this because she should know that she's a bad driver. I was like, whoa. I am too, though. I remember y'all had said for a while, like, we're not going to get in the car with you because remember the mirrors thing?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Didn't have a mirror.
Yeah. So if you don't know this, I used to not like to use my side mirrors when I was driving, so I would just, like, use the front one. And, then one day I was like, oh, these are probably here for a reason. I've gone better.
Maybe,
since.
Yes. Maybe a safety thing, but yeah.
I've gotten better since then. But my cousin was driving us to a workout class, and she just like was cutting everybody off and like swerving through people, and she was literally like, "Uh-oh, oops!" And I was like, "Bro."
So she is the problem.
Yeah,
she's the problem. Okay.
I used to drive like I don't think I ever drove like crazy like cutting people off. It's just I used to drive like a grandma because my grandma taught me how to drive. So I think that's why. But I've gotten better since being in Austin.
Good.
So you gotta catch up.
If that's the case, then you're contributing to the problem. But yeah.
Yeah. No. But yeah. I wanted to ask you. I know that you have your own business. I know you're doing personal training. I had seen on your Instagram that you're doing, are you doing like a YouTube series? Oh, cool. Okay. So tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah. So this is something I've like had on the top of my mind for like probably close to a year now, maybe 6 months, somewhere between 6 months and a year.
Okay.
I had this idea as a personal trainer, where I film a series where I'm taking somebody through a personal training session, but then I ask them what's their story. So it's combining a personal training session with like an interview / podcast type of thing.
Okay.
Something I haven't seen before, but inviting really cool people on there. So actually earlier today, I was filming episode 2 of that,
nice.
with a local chiropractor, who's also a good friend. And, it's a series I'm really excited about. So yeah,
that's a really good idea
and
series to have.
Thank you. Yeah. One thing that I've noticed as a personal trainer is through movement and the further along you get into your workout, people tend to open up like quite a bit.
Right.
And there's something about being a trainer where you're also a therapist, a counselor, a life coach, a like a nutrition coach. Like you become really like intimate and close with these people. And so that's what kind of the purpose of it is I want people to be able to share their story, share whatever's top of mind, be able to share some fitness tips and tricks along the way, because people are seeing like a full-on workout. Like I'm taking somebody through a training session, drawing up everything. So I think there's like multiple benefits to it, and that's kind of what I want to do.
That's awesome. That almost seems like it's like a vulnerable thing for them too, like to be filming while they're working out, but also to open up about those things and share their story in those moments.
Absolutely. And it's kind of like they go into however deep into their story they want to get to. But it's funny because even, granted, this is still episode 2, releasing it this weekend, so stay tuned. But I kind of get a feel for it as the interview progresses. Like the first couple of questions is like kind of a little bit reserved, a little bit timid. Once they start sweating, their heart rate gets up, like they really start to open up, and it's really cool to see. And it's almost like validating, not necessarily an experiment, but it's validating what I've seen as a trainer. And it also like continues to, they open up more. So it goes from what's your story? What is the biggest obstacle you faced in your fitness journey? What has been the biggest breakthrough you've had in your fitness journey? And then if you can give yourself one piece of advice, if you can give yourself from 5 years ago, one piece of advice, what would that be?
Oh, that's a real good question.
Yes, and so they just kind of open up, and it's really cool to see, and I'm excited to see what turns it takes.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Thank you.
I'll have to keep an eye out
Absolutely.
for episodes and things like that. What would you say is like, what I guess kind of got you into personal training? Like, have you always wanted to do it, or?
It's a great question. And on that note, like, if I were to go into how I became a trainer, I'll get a little bit vulnerable here for a sec. So I'm asking people on my show, like, basically be vulnerable. Here's where I'll be. So about 5 years ago, I was in my second year of college. I had been kind of like in and out of fitness, dipped my toes in the water, whatever. And at the time, this person I was very close to, I was probably 6 months into my own fitness journey. We were kind of talking, and she was somebody that I had dated for a while. And she started telling me about this guy that she worked with. And as she was talking about it, she was saying like all the things that he is that I'm not. So it was like things like, this guy's ambitious, he's passionate, he seems to know where he's going, like, and like be able to challenge me intellectually, all these things. So like basically wasn't smart enough, wasn't ambitious enough, wasn't passionate enough. And all the meanwhile, like I'm at the heaviest I've ever been. So at that point I was about 280 pounds, and I feel like I still had a long way to go. From that's something I reflected on, and I only got to that point whenever I started like reflecting on, like probably a year later, whenever I reflected on like, why do I want to be a personal trainer? But I realized what that did is that kicked my ass into gear, and along the way I learned a lot. So from that I was like, you know what, probably didn't go about it the healthiest route, but I was like, you can call me what you want, but it's not going to be any of these things.
That's like, respectfully, I don't like her, but we can cut that part out. Yeah, I don't like her even more. I think that's awesome. That something like that, like it's almost like you didn't use that hurtful moment as like a pity party or let's just make you like actually used it, and it led you to a passion.
Absolutely.
And it just seems crazy how like the world has a way of like doing things.
It is. And like, I don't want to call that like my villain origin story, but like it's probably close. So along that journey, I lost over 60 pounds. I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to go get a master's degree. Like granted, if I can go back and do it again, probably wouldn't have got the master's, but I was like, you know what? I want to be educated. So went and got further education. And I was like, you know what? I'm not ambitious enough. Screw it. I'm on my second LLC. So really trying to grow a business and trying to see what I can do along the way. And along that journey as well, there's also like a time element to it. So what got me into that fitness journey in the first place, like if we look 6 months before that, was the start of 2019. I don't have very many cousins. Anybody that knows me, like I don't have any first cousins. This was a second cousin. He's the only one that's around my age from that side of the family. And I'd seen on Instagram, like he was getting big into fitness, whatever. And he was kind of like my unofficial personal trainer. So I just started asking him questions and things like that. Learned a lot about fitness and realized like along the way I had a lot more to learn. So I really went into like deep study and got certified and like scoured every corner I could, hired my own trainer, like did everything. And that's kind of where it kicked off. And then I got certified in October of 2022. And about 3 to 4 months later, this is where that time element came in, is this one cousin that was really the only one around my age, led me into fitness. He passed away unexpectedly. And he was 25. And I realized that, you know, time is of the essence. Like it's now or never. We really don't know how much time we have left.
Right.
So I was like, you know what, let me take all these things that I've learned and see how I can help other people in their own journeys. And when people hire a trainer, they're hiring almost a professional problem solver. Like they haven't reached where they're wanting to go yet. And I also like to use the analogy of like talking to a trainer is like putting your destination in the GPS. Because you can start at point A and want to get to point B, but you can look at any corner of the internet. You can go to group classes. You can do whatever. And like, yes, it's going to get you to a destination, but it may not be the destination that you want. So like you can try and go from point A to point B, and you can go up here and maybe go like right here, get stuck at stoplights, turn right, like whatever. But talking to a trainer in general will get you from point A to point B faster, knowing where your destination is, where you're coming from, and where you want that destination to be.
That makes total sense.
Absolutely.
It really, really does. It's a fascinating world. Just like exercise in general. I started exercising again, and I feel a lot better. And I'm like, oh, it's almost like it coordinates. Like if I exercise, I'm not going to be depressed.
Absolutely. Your endorphins are releasing, and like the sweat going, the heart rate getting up, like everything. There's so many things, so many benefits to where it's really life-changing.
Right. It's a good feeling. I just started at Orange Theory, and there's the coach there is really intense, and I was like kind of like, oh, this is gonna be like scary because he reminded me of like my old tumbling coach. And then he had asked like what my goal was, and I was like, honestly, I would like this is probably unrealistic, but when I was doing like tumbling and cross country, I felt like I was very in shape, and I would just like to get back to that. And he was like, there's no getting back to that. Like, stop. Like, you're not that same athlete. You're a new athlete. So don't try to like focus on doing your workouts. Like, you're getting back to being something that you have clearly grown out of. And I was like, whoa,
that's fantastic.
Why are you dropping? Yeah, it was such good advice. And I was kind of thinking about it. Like, I guess you can apply that advice to like almost certain other layers of your life, but it's almost like that put a cooler outlook on like just working out, because I just do that in yoga. And my friend Eileen, she has a business where she owns this dance studio that does like dance cardio. So I just do those things, and I try to do at least like one a week. But it was like, whoa, okay, this is different. I'm not working out to be something that I am not anymore. I'm just working out to like actually feel nice.
Absolutely. And that's a great point too. And I especially see it with women as a trainer is it's like realizing you're not going to really ever get back into the same shape you were in when you were 14, 15 years old, but that's okay.
Right.
Like you're at a different point in life. And then like if the same time too, if you want to go back then, you have to take all that comes with it. So for one, you don't know what you know now. Like you're still under like parental supervision. Like there's so many other things you have to take into account. So it's like, you know, why can't I be not only a better version of myself today than I was yesterday, but then keep putting one foot in front of the other and like be a better version of myself than I've ever been. Right.
That's what I feel like is like rewarding when it's like you're working out. It's kind of like, oh, it's just I'm my competition. And I'm not used to feeling like that. Like, oh, I've got to kick it into high gear to beat who I was yesterday or the day before that.
Absolutely. And it takes time. And I'm really glad to hear like it sounds like you're enjoying this journey that you're on.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because, it was almost like a thing where it's, I just want to get back to being like XYZ. But now I'm like, I just like the way that this is making me feel. Like, I can honestly say I feel like my depression has gone down since I've started just like being more active. And it's so funny because my therapist had suggested to me a long time ago, like, well, why don't you try working out? And I was like, are you calling me fat? Like, what are you saying? And she's like, no, it's just going to help.
Yeah. It's
And
doing
it's
it for
like,
your health.
yeah, it goes hand in hand. But yeah, I enjoy it, and I just want to like keep on staying active. But I think it's commendable to the people who like go to the gym every single day. And you go to the gym every day, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
okay. Do you like? I was gonna ask you a question, and I lost my train of thought. Oh yeah. When you first started this journey, like, did you think that it would lead to everything that you have now, or were you kind of like, we're just gonna go head on into this and see what happens?
That's a great question. I think it's something that I wanted to give a shot to, and like my initial goal was to have a six pack. I'd never had one. I'd always been like a little bit chunkier on the tubbier side, and that was really about the only goal I had. But then as I progressed, this kind of like leads into something I've been really big in reflecting on lately is like, input versus output.
Right.
So because I was searching for this outcome of having a six pack, I was really like going hard, and I was trying to figure out every answer I could and figure out like what's going to happen with this. And the only way I was able to do that is to keep like pouring into the input. And I wasn't seeing the output. I didn't see the output until probably almost 2 years later. And even then, when I got the six pack, I didn't realize until after I lost the six pack that I had the six pack. And it's like, it is crazy. Because like you have to look at fitness as this continuum. Like you're going to reach whatever goal you're trying to reach, and then you're going to get there, and it's gonna be like, well, shit, like now what? Like what's the next one? And it's also like almost never going to be good enough until you like appreciate where your feet are at in your own journey.
Gotcha.
So I was searching for a specific outcome, didn't see the outcome until later on, but I just kept pouring into the input, and then the outcomes kind of controlled themselves, and you can't control the outcome as it is.
Yeah.
So just keep pouring into the input, and then it's opened up so many doors. It's connected me with so many like really cool people, and it's put me on a path that I'm excited to keep walking down.
That's awesome. That's a great answer.
Thank you.
I think it is so hard sometimes trying not to control like what comes out of what, or like, I don't know, sometimes I get frustrated where I'm like, why can't it just be like, I know what I'm going to get out of this, or like XYZ, but it's almost like the things, I guess you could say gifts from like God or the universe, like whatever you think you're going to get something better. Like I always know that whatever plan the universe and God has set out for me is better than what I think it's going to be.
Absolutely.
And it's hard, I think, to be patient and just be like, it's going to stay.
It is.
Working.
It is. And that's where I think being where your feet are at is very crucial. Because I was at dinner talking with a friend probably about a week ago. And he had brought up like the point of like the grass is greener where you water it.
Right.
And that, or it's greenest where you water it. And realizing like, people always want what they can't have, even though what they currently have is what they wanted in the past.
Right.
And what that does is that causes so much unnecessary like friction and suffering and like pain and anxiety or depression or whatever. Like there's so many like negative emotions attached to it.
Right.
But when you like detach from that outcome, you detach and just be like, okay, I'm going to be where my feet are at. I'm going to realize like, what can I be grateful for that I've accomplished now? And especially like, I think fitness is a great like example of it.
Yeah.
Knowing like I can be grateful for where I'm at because I'm better today than I was like 6 months ago, however long ago it was that you started. And really, when you detach from that outcome, you realize like how much more there is to offer, and there's a whole lot less friction.
Yeah.
And it's you're not beating your head against a wall.
Yeah. Being a control freak. I think that was my problem. If I don't keep myself in check, I can be a huge control freak. Mm-hmm. And it's like, it's not fun when things are like that.
Absolutely.
Always, you remember, I used to just be a chronic overthinker. Mm-hmm. I think I've gotten a lot better at it. A lot. Mm-hmm. And it feels better to be like just in the state. There's just some times where I overthink things. Like, I applied for this job and I went on this job interview and I like really, really want this job. Mm-hmm. And so the interview went okay, but when I was in there, I was like, God, I need to be prepared for whatever they ask me, like whatever she's going to say. I need to be witty and I need to like really bring it.
Yeah.
And so a couple times during the interview, I like made her laugh and I was like, well, this has got to give me brownie points. Mm-hmm. But I was overthinking a little bit because I'm going to be gone next week.
Okay.
Because I'm going on a cruise, so I'll be like gone for a whole entire week.
Nice.
Yeah. And I was like, God, like, what if I told her that. I was like, hey, I'm going to be going on a cruise, like, so I can start the week after. But then I was like, fuck, I should have not said that. I should have just said, like, I got to give a 2 weeks notice at their job instead of telling her I'm going on vacation. But it's like fine. But
yeah.
I had overthought it a little bit because I was like, what if that's like this deciding factor? But reality is like, if that's the job that's meant for me, she'll hire me. If it's not, que sera, like I have a job now and it's whatever, things are going to work themselves out. It's just
exactly. Well, and on that note too, like you telling her you were going to be on the cruise is like you being honest and authentic. Yeah. Like it's not to say you were trying to be sneaky. Like you were telling her like, hey, I'm going to be on a cruise. Like if you want to hire me. I'm just not going to be there for a week. And if a week's going to make or break them, then fuck that job. Right. You don't need it. Right. But so on that note too, like whenever, cause I definitely know we've been friends for like over a decade now. Yeah, you've been a chronic overthinker in the past. However, like seeing the growth from you almost firsthand over the course of a decade has been really cool to see. And in that note, what do you think changed for you to help like get out of this overthinking mindset?
Honestly, I think it's like just being like so honest with my therapist about like everything I'm overthinking and like working through that with her. And I think Frankie also helps me because he doesn't overthink at all. It's very like his mindset is very like a calming presence, if that makes sense. Like it's like, oh well, okay, that happened. Next,
the calm in the storm. Like yeah.
Yeah. I think that, and I truly just think like realizing like, okay, most of the time things are not life or death. Like this is not me overthinking and wasting my time. The time that I'm spending overthinking, I could be doing something else with my time.
Yeah. Like, let's take a breath here and like realize we will be okay. The sun's gonna come up regardless.
Yeah, because it's almost like a waste of time. Like just thinking through all these things and being like, let me think about it from every angle. I can't, like, that's just so exhausting. Honestly, I think I made myself tired because one aspect, I don't know, I've probably shared this before on this podcast, maybe not, but one aspect where, like, my overthinking was just completely killing me was my art. Like, I would overthink when it came to, like, going to acting class. I would be so in my head that when it would be time to do scenes, I would be too busy thinking about, like, how I'm going to do the scene and, like, what's going to happen if I drop a line or, like, XYZ. And it's like, you can't be in that kind of mindset when you're doing a scene. Like, you've got to be present and ready to just play. It's like almost like a sport, you know?
Yeah.
And my acting coaches have told me, like, you're your worst enemy. Like, when you're in your head doing that, like, it's not benefiting you. And it's just not fun. And I think I got tired of like always showing up like that and being like, I'm here every week, I'm doing the work that it takes to get here every week, but I'm literally just overthinking it so bad that I'm squashing these opportunities. And it went like that with auditions too. And I've helped so many of my friends and like people who want like an acting coach or like they're just not ready to take classes. I help coach them through classes, and I'm like, I'm coaching them, but I'm not taking my own advice. Like, I don't want to be a phony teacher or coach. I want to actually, like, know what I'm doing. So I just got tired of being that way. And honestly, that was one of the main factors where I was like, well, everything that, like art is like a reflection of life, and you're just holding a mirror up to nature. And I don't want to be like that in my real life, nor in my scene work. And it got like that with comedy too, where I was like, I have a very dark sense of humor, like, you've heard my jokes. And I just started getting so in my head because I had like a couple shows where like I just straight up bombed because I was like, I'm too dark. Like, I need to think of jokes that are more like, that are just normal jokes, like jokes that aren't gonna like scare
family
people.
friendly, maybe something there. Yeah.
And while I do think that I need to like be sometimes more in that space, I had to accept like this is my sense of humor. The whole fucking job of being a comedian is not to like get in my head. It's to connect with the audience and like write and work. So how am I gonna do that if I'm too busy in my head worrying about what audience will like me at this time? Like, it's not my job to be pre-worrying about who's going to be in the audience, what's going to happen, whatever. It's my job to like be present and connect and like, so it just kind of, I just got tired of being like, I'm overthinking all of this.
Yeah. Well, and you know what's so funny about that is like, if you are showing up to your comedy shows and you're not being authentic and you bomb, not only do you bomb, but you also bomb not being yourself.
Right.
So like, what's the harm in like, if you're going to bomb anyway, might as well be yourself and at least know like, okay, this is who I am. This didn't work this time. Maybe it doesn't work next time, but like, if you do that, then you're going to be stuck with a lot of what ifs. Well, what if I just showed up and I told the routine regardless of who was sitting in the crowd?
Fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's where I started like just beating myself up because I was like, this is not even like fun. I'm going up here and like worrying and bombing. I'm like, I'm gonna have to bomb 1,000 fucking times. Yeah. It's just like I'm going to have to do it. So if I can't handle having multiple bombs in a row, then what the fuck am I doing?
Exactly.
The job is for someone who can handle that. So it just really like being really stern with myself. It has not been easy because, like I said, there's still times where I still have to be like, quit overthinking.
Yeah.
And I think so too. Like I had to be that way too. Like in my relationship, I think I've gotten better. Frankie may disagree, but maybe different if we ask him. But I think I've gotten a little bit better because at the beginning I just hadn't really had like, healthy relationships in the past, and I tend to overthink a lot of things. So I'd be like, what are we doing? Do you like me? Blah, blah, blah. Yeah. It's just one of those. There was this meme, and it was like, me on my wedding day. Do you still like me?
Real.
Yeah, and I was like, I don't want that to be me. I want to be more present for things. So that was a long answer, but I think just wanting to be more present in life is what has just kicked me in the ass to be like, just get out of your head.
That's amazing. And it kind of like ties back into this recurring theme of like input versus outcome. Mm-hmm. And like realizing you're not going to be able to control the outcome regardless. Right. So let's just keep showing up. Right. And that's another thing as well. I think why I have so much respect for you and other people in like the art scene, the comedy scene, like whatever, is knowing you're going to have to fail 1,000 times and maybe 10,000 times. Like who knows how long it's going to take, but you have to keep showing up. And that's the only way you're going to like get to where you want to get to. And it takes time, and it's not easy, even as a personal trainer. Like a lot of it's like sales oriented. And sales, like you have to hear no a lot. It's like every no is one step closer to a yes.
Right.
And whenever you keep knocking, eventually the door's going to open.
Right.
And it takes time, but I think that's awesome that you've started to like have this mindset shift, and
thanks.
Yeah, I think it's going to exponentially improve your growth.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I really hope so.
Absolutely.
We'll see. I think it will. I think that therapy helps a lot, though. It's like you've been in therapy.
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah. It's seems like a life changer. I'm just like the biggest person to be like, yeah, if you're thinking about going, just go.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. At the very least, like use it as a sounding board and just like say whatever you want and like clear your head and like just work through things, because like talking and writing and things like that are very similar to just thinking aloud. And like if you don't think aloud, you're gonna have this, like my therapist liked to use this analogy of like cleaning out the garage. Like you're just going to keep throwing shit in the garage, and like eventually it's going to pile up, and you're just going to have a big mess in there, and you're not really going to know what you're working with, who you are, and like where you want to go unless you just start organizing it. And the only way to organize it is to keep like pulling things out of it, like dusting off the shelves, figuring out what I need to keep, what I need to get rid of, and what needs to stay.
Yeah, that's a really good analogy.
Absolutely. No, he's wise. Crazy.
Putting things in the garage, putting it under the bed.
Yep. Absolutely.
I do that now. Yeah, I think like sometimes I would try to like reason with myself and be like, well, I'm just this way because like my parents, like they just, but it's like, no, I'm 25. It's not my parent. My parents did what they did. Like it's ultimately my responsibility. And if I don't figure this out, then what am I I don't want to be 30 being an anxious 30-year-old.
Yeah, like nobody's going to come.
Some people are, but like, sounded rude, but I didn't mean it like that.
But you're like doing the groundwork. And I think in that you have to have the humility to realize nobody's coming to save you.
Right.
Like you're going to have to be the one to save yourself and get your shit together because nobody's going to do it for you.
Right.
And if you do rely on somebody else to do it for you, it's going to be a toxic relationship.
Yeah.
It's going to be bad.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm not a movie star. Nobody's showing up. We're not famous here. Oh gosh, have you been? You're still living on Riverside, right? Mm-hmm. Sorry, why did I just say your address?
Yes, absolutely. I'm moving in 2 weeks, so don't worry about it. Or 1 week actually. Yeah, it's close.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, that was gonna be my next question. You're still gonna be in Austin, though, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fun. Are you liking like living like more like in the city versus like out?
Yes, because the first year or so I was in Austin, I was not very close to downtown. It was cool.
Okay.
And every once in a while, I miss that place. It's just like, damn, there's like a whole routine up there. There's a whole different time of life.
Right.
But I'm really enjoying it.
Good.
And especially too for my client base, like, my first year or so as like an official personal trainer, I've been training friends and family and things like that on the side for years, but first like year as a personal trainer, I was at Equinox. And when you're at Equinox, you're like not necessarily in the heart of downtown, but everybody's coming from downtown and like from all over. And,
nice.
Especially now that I'm kind of doing my own thing, being in a somewhat central location is, great to bring clients along, and you're just kind of, you're in this good middle ground for training and chasing a passion.
That's awesome. That's cool. Yeah, I didn't think about, there's probably like a big clientele out there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, and being in that central spot too, like you also get to connect with so many people because it's just a hub. And that, I think that's one of the coolest things about Austin is such a like a fitness oriented city.
Oh,
like
nice.
There's always something going on. Like there's so many new gyms popping up. There's so many, like, think of like Lady Bird Lake or just hiking or the trails, like biking, paddleboarding, whatever. It's a very fit city compared to like other places I've lived and probably most places in the U.S.
Nice. Yeah, there's a lot to do. It seems. Have you ever done a cold plunge?
I actually just did my first time this weekend.
Really? Did you like it?
I loved it.
Really?
I was I'd actually booked it at a place on ClassPass, and it was like a sauna and cold plunge like combo. So
nice.
I spent like 15 minutes in the sauna, which usually I do like 5 to 10 minutes. So I was already dying after 15. Yes. I was dying, and then went immediately from that into a cold plunge for 3 minutes.
Oh, okay.
And then right after that, I went right back into the sauna, and I just kind of went back and forth 3 times.
Gotcha.
But it was crazy.
Really?
It was. I actually recorded it, and like I felt like I was going into some sort of shock. Like I had no control over my body. I was just like sitting like fuck. Yes, I was insanely cold. But no, it was really cool. Like after the first like 15 to 20 seconds, it's just like you have a very like calming sensation, and then you get out and you just feel so like awake.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow. So you could actually feel the difference, like the alert.
Absolutely.
More alert.
Yes, I did. And I actually have a Whoop. So it also like improves your sleep. So I went to sleep like 3 hours later, and I had my best night of sleep in weeks.
Really?
Yeah.
That is good to know.
Absolutely.
You're convincing me because I saw like an ad popped up on my feed for cold plunges, and I was like, oh, I want to go try it because it was like it looked pretty interesting. It was like you go at like 6 a.m. and cold plunge. Yeah. And I've been wanting to do it, so I think I might actually sign up now.
Yeah. Well, and that too, even if it's something you can't afford. Like I learned this. Do you know who Dr. Andrew Huberman is? Yeah. Okay. So on the Huberman Lab podcast, he actually talks about cold plunges and stuff like that. You get a similar effect in your brain and your cortisol levels if you do it with just a cold shower. So even if it's just jumping in a
okay.
cold shower first thing in the morning, like it sucks. It doesn't feel good. You're
Right.
never going to be excited to do it.
Right.
But supposedly you get so many like positive effects from it, and I can't vouch on it too much. I'm kind of a wuss when it comes to that stuff, but I may be a believer now, so we'll see. Yeah.
Yeah, I like Dr. Huberman, but they were trying to like cancel him, and I was like, leave this poor
What were
man
they trying to cancel him for?
Because Brandon, can you pull up? Yeah, it was some magazine that wrote an article about him saying that
Is it the one of where it says he's like lying about stuff?
Yes, and that his wife, that he cheated or something like that.
Oh, I
You know
actually
what I'm
know
talking
all
about?
about this. So Huberman, he's the guy who says the stuff about nicotine too, right? Where it helps you focus. Yeah. So he was dating 5 different women, and they all didn't know about each other. Like he'd go pick one up from the airport, bring her to a hotel, and be like, "I got to go to a meeting." Go to like girl number 2, take her on a date, be like, "Hey, I got to go somewhere else." Go to like girl number 3. And he did it for like a year, over a year. And he only got caught because he brought a 6th girl in, and like girl number 4 walked into his house and he was KO'd with her in the bed.
Wow.
And so people are trying to cancel him for that. And like, sure, maybe morally it's not the nicest thing to do to women. There's nothing illegal or like that. It's fucked up, but not cancel someone fucked up.
No, it's morally wrong, but
Yeah.
like the cancel culture on that
It's
that's
kind
a
of
little bit
insane.
harsh.
It's
That's a
kind of
little
like he's
harsh.
just an asshole. Let's not
Yes.
cancel him. He's just an asshole.
Yes.
And that, I mean, it's honestly done wonders. Like he's had a big pickup in like the bros fucking with him because people are like, "Oh my god, like he gets hosed. This is cool." Like, they're
This guy
excited about
fucks.
it. Yeah.
He's got his clout up. Yeah. See, yeah, that I'm like, yeah, you don't need to be. It's okay. He still gives us free. I like to listen to his podcast because I'm like, oh, this is like a free resource for things I didn't know before.
He's literally a professor at Stanford, like sharing so much good information, and like
those
sure,
women are so mad.
yes, maybe he dates
I
a few
feel
too
bad
many
for
women
them.
at one time, but
Yeah.
like, come on, there's some good info out there from him. So.
Yeah. I wouldn't expect someone like that to be loyal, anyways. Honestly. But
He's got a lot of
whatever.
clout now, so that's I've heard the clout changes people. So
Okay, so I have a funny story
Mhm.
that I want to read you. It's a Reddit story.
okay,
I actually haven't read it fully through, but I think it's petty. So this is off the thread, the petty revenge thread.
Okay.
Is that big enough for you? The writing was.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, cool.
So it says, place my roommate's cell phone number in every account while I worked as a debt collector. So in my early 20s, I rented a 2-bedroom apartment and had one of my friends move in with me. Everything was great at first, but soon I realized I had made a mistake. Any and all things that make a bad roommate, this one man consisted of. I, to this day, have never had another roommate. One day while I was at work, I had a time-sensitive issue that I needed to discuss with him, and when I tried to reach him on the phone, he didn't pick up. He was notorious for not answering his phone. He would get a call, and 9 out of 10 times would just set it back down. Okay, King. So I called him, and once again, he didn't answer. I then called him on the auto dial, so my work's number would show up, and he picked up on the first ring. Ooh. I hung up, and the rest of the day I inputted his number into every account I worked out that day as a way of reaching the clients. Must have been at least 75. God. The beauty of this is for the next few months I got to hear about and or see him receive dozens of calls looking for all different people. At first he tried to explain that he was not this person and to remove his number, but they never did. LOL, he would scream at them and ask them why they were doing this to him, that there's no reason all these people would have his number. He would make false threats saying that he had obtained a lawyer and that he was going to sue them for harassment, but nothing stopped the calls. This is the best part.
Let me pull up the.
This is so great. He eventually bit the bullet and got a new phone provider. And not long after I broke my lease and got the fuck out of there. It's been 15 years and I still laugh from time to time. Just thought it was time to share it with all of you. Oh my
that's
God.
amazing.
Honestly, that
Well, because debt collectors are never going to stop either. They will hunt you down.
At first, I was like, hey, why'd she do this? But honestly, now I'm like, okay, queen, that's kind of funny.
So that reminds me, do you remember the prank when we were in high school where people would like post a fake Craigslist ad? And it would be like free chickens. And be like, I've got like 10 free chickens. Like, please call or text me. And people would get blown the fuck out over like 2 days until it gets reported and taken down. And like,
one time, Frankie doesn't remember this, but when we were friends, I put his number on there, like that he was he was selling Russ tickets.
Okay.
So that people would text him about the concert tickets. 'Cause we both don't like Russ. You don't like Russ.
No, fuck Russ.
Yeah, I think that's like genius. That's like the pettiest thing. Honestly, I wish she would have sent him, that guy, the debt collectors that call me.
That's even better because they're just going to harass you. Like, there's no stop. And you can block their number all you want. They're going to keep calling from different numbers. Yep.
Yeah. I have, I told you about this, I think. Maybe not. You worked for Spectrum, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
For a little
I'm allowed
bit,
to
yeah,
like say
yeah.
this on this, right?
Yeah,
Okay,
no,
I was
that's
like, I don't
fine.
have
Yeah.
your place.
No, you're fine. I was the asshole that stood in the back of Walmart. Spectrum Internet and Cable in college, yeah.
Okay, so they totally fucked me over. I refused to pay this, and I like disputed it, so like I think it's gonna be okay. But
Yeah.
we had to sign up with them for my apartment, and I told them I just want internet. I don't want cable and phone. And I get my bill back and it has internet, cable, and phone. Because the first time they came to put in that installment thing, it was wrong. So I had to have them come back out and fix it. Well, then, yeah, they put all 3 of those, and I was like, I'm not paying this. I use the internet. I'm not paying this.
That's the oldest trick in the book because you get paid like a little bit extra by adding
Oh
a voice line and a phone line and all. Yeah.
So stupid. Which I was like, okay, I understand you're trying to get paid more, but like, I'm not the person to do it. I don't even watch TV like that.
It's a sleazeball thing to do because people don't even realize they have it until they get their bill. And all of a sudden it's $100 more than they thought it was going to be. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I was like, I'm not paying this. Like, y'all put me for the wrong thing. You know how it's like, we're calling our own recorded line. I got so pissed. I was like, you can go back to the recorded line and see that I said I did not want these things. And long story short, I just never paid it. I got internet with someone else. They sent me off to collections, and they call me like almost every day, and I've blocked the numbers, and they just call with new numbers, and I'm like, good luck. I'm not paying this internet.
Keep chasing me for forever. Like, you're not gonna get this. So there is a trump card to it.
Oh, okay.
So have you heard of the Better Business Bureau?
Yeah.
Yeah. So file a complaint with them. Just trust me. Just trust me. It's a trump card. Like, Spectrum will like probably the VP will email you and be like, "Hey, we're so sorry about this problem." It'll work.
That makes me feel like a Karen, but it's just one of those things where I'm like, I might have to be petty in this because y'all gave me more than I said I wanted.
You might, and they're gonna keep calling you, so you might as well just like hit them back. Why not?
Sometimes I just like see their call. Sometimes honestly, I've gotten to the point like with debt collectors where sometimes I'll just like fuck with them, like for fun. I'll be like, I'm not gonna have the payment today, and I probably won't have it tomorrow.
Yeah,
so don't call tomorrow.
It's
either.
awesome.
Yeah.
And like, because I've seen Reddit threads and stuff like that. You can use it to get out of medical bills too. Like, say I can only afford it. Like, let's say you owe $500. Say I can only afford to pay like $40. Because debt collectors buy it for a portion of the cost, they will take whatever they can on the way back rather than just losing out all their money.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, that's one way to get out of it. But yes, I've done my research on this. Yeah.
I had a debt collector call me one time for a hospital bill, and they were like, "Hey, you took an ambulance," and I was like, "No, I didn't," and they were like, "Okay, have a good day," and just hung up.
Really?
Never heard anything again. I was like, "You're horrible at your job."
No persistence. Like, you're not getting anybody's debt back.
No, yeah. They're just like, "Oh, damn, fuck, we fucked up again." I was like, okay, cool. That was. Can you just do that with any bill? Just be like, nah, it wasn't me.
I don't
All right, sir, you sound trustworthy over the phone.
We'll believe you.
Like, cool.
That's amazing.
That is pretty great. Thank you so much for coming on today.
Absolutely.
It was so great to just catch up and chat.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate the invite.
Well, yeah, I can't believe it was exactly 2 years ago I had you on here. I think, do we still live together at that time?
Yes, because yeah. That was towards the end of when we were living together.
Okay.
Yeah.
I remember the little apartment was so fun. I always like, when I drive to Trader Joe's now, I'm like, I used to just walk here.
Absolutely, dude. That's one thing I miss about it. And again, it's like being where your feet are at, because at the time I was like, fuck, I want to get out of here. I want to get closer to downtown. But I think back on it. Like, we had so many grocery stores around there. Trader Joe's you could walk to. Like, it was, there's a lot of clutch things about that place.
You remember that rundown HEB that was over there?
Yeah. a lot of, I think we've come up a little bit since then.
Yeah, my apartments now they're okay. But, well, for when I first moved in, I was like, what did I do? Well, because I've been there, this is my second year there now. So, the first year, it was like the layout was cool, but just like everything else about it, I was like, fuck, what did I get myself into?
You had a ghost in there, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay. That doesn't help.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I forgot I was going to have to come over before we moved to the ghost. But it's, okay, here's the weird thing. We had a ghost, and Madison can vouch for this, too. It was so spooky in the unit that we were in, but Frankie and I live downstairs from that exact unit now, and there's nothing there.
No shit.
So I'm like, okay. The first day we moved in, the light was, like, flickering, and he was like, it's the ghost. I was like...
I wonder, do you think it's following you at all?
No, what I think had happened was that spirits can like attach themselves to like objects. So we had a lot of thrifted stuff, and I think that's something that we got it just like attached, because we talked to, I think maybe I didn't tell you about this, but we talked to my friend. She's like a medium, and she can see them and like hear them a lot, and she had said that it was like just there because it wandered in and like didn't really have anywhere else to go. Wow. And we were just like welcoming, which I don't really know how we were welcoming, because we did not like it there. It would like turn on the oven.
Yeah.
And it was like kind of spooky, because Madison and I were like, we didn't turn on the oven. It would set off the fire alarm. One time we had maintenance come and look at the fire alarms to just like make sure that the batteries, that we were like, what's up?
Everything's good. Yeah.
Yeah. It would still beep. Beep, and every time we would walk into the apartment, it would beep.
Wow.
Yeah, almost like a hi.
So it was just like using electronic shit to just say hello.
Yeah.
Basically, yeah. Okay. I would have been spooked. But at the same time, too, it's better than like, did it ever knock anything off the walls or?
No, it didn't do that. It just like, it felt like I didn't like being like alone. Like if Madison was at home and I was all by myself, like it was almost like I didn't like that. And one time, I'm sure she wouldn't mind me saying this, but I wasn't there, and she was sitting down on the couch watching TV with her boyfriend, and they were like talking about it or something like that, and all of a sudden all of our power went out. Wow. And so she said that her boyfriend was like, am I supposed to like get up and like make sure everything's okay? And like as soon as he got up, everything turned back on.
Wow.
Yeah, so just do weird stuff.
And like, you know, whether you believe in ghosts or not, like one thing is whatever, two things maybe a coincidence. Right. 3 or more times is not a freaking coincidence.
No,
like something's living there and just like messing with you.
Yeah. I mean, I've been into ghost stuff for like a while, because I can sense most of the time if something is there. It's just I can't always see it, if that makes sense. And one night I saw it run across my room, and I was like, what? Like, go. Like, I was so scared, and Frankie was like, wait, you're freaking me out. Like, what did you see?
Something's running across the floor?
Yeah,
like,
but
wow.
the thing that scared me was like exactly what I saw. I told my friend who can actually see them, and I was like, because I wanted to make sure that like I'm not just crazy. And so I was like, hey, what does it look like to you? And she described exactly what I saw. She described that without me telling her anything. Wow. So it was like a little like man kind of creature. And Madison saw it too, like out of the corner of her eye.
Holy shit.
Yeah. I sound crazy.
So multiple witnesses, but if there's multiple witnesses, you may not be crazy there.
Yeah. Do you remember, I don't know if you ever went to that house, but when I lived like near cemetery.
No, I don't think I was ever
okay,
there. No.
Then yeah, I lived like near cemetery for like a good part of my life in Georgetown, and it was just like, I think being around like, because our neighborhood was like right on, like it was our neighborhood and the cemetery, so I'd always like go walk around in the cemetery. Like Madison and I both would be like, because we live near each other, so we would go like look at the cemetery. And they have these like haunted dolls there, and I think like, I don't know, like being around that stuff, I think it kind of like just interests me and opened me up to being like, hey, I'm not so scared.
Yeah, you got to see it from an early age and just got comfortable with the ghost.
Yeah. Weird stuff.
Yeah.
To be comfortable.
Probably learned a lot though. Really cool.
Yeah, it makes me sound schizophrenic or something, but
The cemetery, there's ghosts, like whatever.
Anyways, yeah. Well, do you have anything that people can find you on, or like I know your series is on YouTube. Like,
Yeah.
where would you like for people to look for you?
Absolutely. So, yeah, White Knuckle Fitness is my Instagram. That is where I kind of do all my personal training business. Jameson_White 35 on Instagram as well, if you want the personal page. And actually, let me confirm, I just created this YouTube channel last week. Jameson-White on YouTube. The White Knuckle Wisdom series, strength, sweating, and stories. That's new series, episode 2 releasing this weekend.
Heck yeah. Everybody go watch it.
Absolutely.
Once again, you guys, thank you so much for listening. Whether you listen to every episode religiously or if you're just like, hey, I am tired of listening to other podcasts. Let me go listen to What Is Wrong With You. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you enjoy this, please feel free to like, comment, even subscribe and help me out so that way I can grow my engagement. Okay. Thank you guys. See you next time.
What is wrong with you? 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 We gotta